Special hello and shout out to our super producer, Paul Dolphin, who's helping me today. What we're doing is providing information, inspiration, and encouragement. We do believe that it's so important to begin the week off on a positive note. You know, when you think about our lives, especially when we've made the commitment and the decision to go forward with our dreams, our goals, what we know is important to us and what's inside our hearts. And there's so much competing for our attention. There's so much distraction out there. You know, we're all keeping up with the Kardashians. We are following the chaotic lives of our celebrities. We're following the Queen and her Diamond Jubilee and so many things that are going on. We may be in a tug of war over ideology, a political strife and positions, who's right, who's wrong. And sometimes we get so involved with all of that that we neglect our dreams. Can you imagine if your dream sat you down right now and had a good talking to you? What would your dream be telling you? Would your dream tell you that it's so sick and tired of you putting it on the shelf, of you always waiting until things are perfect before you take any action on it? Would your dream just say, look, I'm tired of collecting dust. I'm tired of that. Let's get going. Let's get cracking. So we're here as a source of information and inspiration and hopefully some motivation and encouragement that'll get you going and have you become that dream doer and not just that dreamer. So let's get started on our show. And we're going to focus today on perseverance. Perseverance. How important is that? Why should we always focus on our dream? You know, we need to hang in there, not give up, hurdling over life's obstacles. That's what perseverance is really all about. Your dream, the life you really want, going over those hurdles and continuing on. So grab your cup of coffee, grab your spot of tea, and let's get our cups filled with motivation, inspiration, and encouragement. We begin the show every week with what caught our eye. What caught our eye this past weekend or past week? Well, since we are focusing on perseverance, there are two stories that actually caught our eye. One involves this superstar athlete. Her name is Lolo Jones. That's what they call her. She is headed to the 2012 Summer Olympics in London. So we're going to be talking about her story in just a second. And also, you may have seen this story about Dawn Loggins. Dawn Loggins, she just graduated last week from high school. Her story is absolutely inspiring, incredible, almost to the point of unbelievable what she had to go through. So homelessness, abandonment, living in uncertainty, and even some filth. But she had that dream that she would not only finish high school, she would go on to college. So let's talk about perseverance and how important that is. We're going to begin with, we told you about Lolo Jones. And late last month, there were two big profile stories involving her. One on ESPN that aired a documentary, and the other, she was profiled on HBO's Inside Sports with Bryant Gumbel. She is now a superstar on the Twitter world because she did mention during the interview on HBO Inside Sports that she has not engaged in sex. She's a 29-year-old virgin, and she wants to wait until she gets married. So everybody's focusing on that. I'm choosing to focus on her story because there's so many things that can inspire us to keep going. So let's just hear about her and watch this HBO documentary called Lolo.
Everybody knows Lolo.
Lolo Jones, so popular with the fans, a name that resonates.
Lolo Jones, get on out here.
I had a big crush on Lolo Jones.
Pretty girl.
Great. Perfect.
Right in the camera.
I never consider myself to be a sex symbol. I think that's hilarious because it's my job to hurdle over obstacles. But I've hurdled over so many life obstacles. It's like, which one is guiding which?
It would have been easy to just fail and give up. But that's just never been a real option.
Seeing her coming up through the ranks, it was like, wow. I knew she was going to be a force to be reckoned with.
It's Lolo Jones. Lolo Jones is going to win it.
Everyone remembers the debacle she experienced at Hurdle 9 in the Beijing Olympic final, but she bounced back.
We're always going to be a sucker for the underdog, and very rarely do you find an underdog story like hers.
Number 1 in the world, Lolo Jones.
Gone through so many battles, but I don't want to give up until I have that medal around my neck. I feel like my story is not complete. That moment I'm not thinking
And again, that's from that documentary last month on HBO. Very interesting. And I was struck by a portion of the trailer for the documentary. Hopefully you did see it. If not, I'm sure everything's online nowadays, so you should be able to hear and see some of it. But she said in the documentary's trailer that it's my job to hurdle over obstacles. I've hurdled over so many of life's obstacles. It's like, which one is guiding which? So that's so exciting to me that she is talking about that. You know, she's Lolo Jones. You may have heard about her. She's a very attractive, very pretty girl, pretty woman, I should say. She's a fighter. If you've been following her story, she has overcome numerous struggles and setbacks in her life. And now she has just arrived at this elite level. And she is headed to London to participate in the Olympic Games. And the documentary started by taking viewers back to her childhood. Many of us had not heard of her. She was born in Des Moines, Iowa. That's where she grew up. She grew up in poverty. Her dad was an alcoholic, in and out of prison. She was raised by her mother and her siblings. Her mom was really raising her by herself. And the Jones family kept spending time living in Salvation Army shelter and in the bottom of a church basement. So they were pretty much displaced and homeless as well. They were on food stamps. Lolo admitted she was a professional shoplifter. That's what she did. She would swipe frozen food so that her family wouldn't go hungry. It reminds me of Les Miserables. You remember how that Victor Hugo story? And after addressing her earlier struggles in the documentary, Lolo touched on the interesting ways that she started out as a runner and how she acquired the nickname of Lolo. Her name is Lori Jones, but Lolo, everyone calls her that, is because her mother is also named Lori. So when people would call or want to talk to the daughter, they would say, "Let me talk to Lolo." So that's how little Lori started with Lolo. And whenever her father's car would break down, Lolo would run to her next destination. Isn't that something, how life is? She would run to her next destination after her dad's car would break down. Eventually, she took up hurdling and excelled there, earning a scholarship to LSU. So she's in Baton Rouge now. She won an indoor national championship in the 60-meter hurdles, but collegiate success did not come immediately in translating into professional success. And some of those who are familiar with it know that in 2004, she did not qualify. So some are saying, you know, she's 29. Is this going to be her big shot, maybe even her last shot to go for the Olympic gold? She persevered because, again, that's our topic, persevering. Just because we're talented, just because we have a mighty big dream, just because we're nice people, doesn't mean that the road is going to be easy for us. Absolutely not. So she persevered. She worked part-time at among a number of places, including Home Depot and at a Cajun restaurant, but she was still training. She didn't have the luxury of not being able to work. So she had to work, also focus on her training. So that's what it takes a lot of times, that persistence and perseverance, is that sometimes you have to juggle a lot of things on your plate. Eventually, she emerged as an elite hurdler, qualifying for the 2008 Olympics and establishing her as a favorite for gold. which looked like it was going to happen. But if you've been following her story, you know it wasn't always smooth sailing. More hurdles for her, literally and figuratively, to overcome. Leading after 8 hurdles in the final, Lolo Jones hit the next to last hurdle, costing herself the gold medal that many had predicted that she would walk away with. And she felt like, this is her quote, "It felt like someone stabbed me in my stomach." And that, when we face our hurdles and we face our setbacks, it could feel as if someone just really stabbed us or punched us or hit us in the gut. It really can take our breath away. And sometimes, if we're not careful, if we don't keep our eyes on the Olympic goal of our dream, we can just say, you know what? Tried twice, that's it, I'm out of here. But, of course, it wasn't the stomach pains or a broken heart that sidelined her for much of 3 seasons. She also had an injury. It was a spinal cord, some problems, which the documentary went into as well. So, but her back problems prevented her from dominating the event as she had been, and eventually sent her to the operating table in 2011. But as we're seeing, she's optimistic. It feels like it's going to happen for her. So we wish you well. She says she certainly seems ready to put a perfect ending or a perfect chapter. I don't really believe that there's an ending. It only ends when we're gone for good, when we die. But she's looking to have a happy chapter. She said that all she has to do is just qualify for the London Olympics and win the gold. No big deal. No big deal whatsoever. So that is the story of Lolo. Lori Lolo Jones. You may want to keep an eye out on her when the Olympics rolls around. So now the other story, remember we talked about Dawn Loggins. Very interesting story about her. Inspirational, a new North Carolina senior. She graduated last week. And let's go ahead and talk about her story for a second. Let's see if we can get that story. Very interesting. And she was profiled on CNN. Lots of stations picked it up. She was also profiled on Saturday on CBS this morning. So here's a story of Dawn Loggins.
And she wants to help pay for her further education, and Nancy Cordes has more.
Dawn Loggins beat the odds just by graduating. The 18-year-old from Lawndale, North Carolina, bounced around between 8 different schools growing up, drifting with her mother and with a stepfather who was in and out of jail. Sometimes they squatted in homes without electricity or running water.
We would go and we'd fill up milk jugs at a convenience store or at the park and use those to flush the toilet and to shower with and things like that.
Last summer, her parents disappeared altogether, leaving her homeless.
I couldn't get in touch with anybody, and I was pretty much on my own.
She took a job at school as a custodian to make money, crashing on friends' couches until another custodian agreed to take her in.
I feel that she's part of the family, and I think she feels that way too. She knows that this is home.
Throughout it all, Dawn maintained an A average. A friend of her principal helped Dawn to apply to college.
How many schools did you apply to?
Counting Harvard, I applied to 5.
How many schools did you get into?
All of them.
And which one are you going to?
Harvard.
She wants to study biology and says the adversity she faced just made her more determined.
A lot of people use bad situations as an excuse, and instead of doing that, I use them as motivation.
For CBS This Morning Saturday, I'm Nancy Cordes, Lawndale, North Carolina.
And what a motivation she is. We are delighted to welcome...
So again, lots and lots of stories about this young woman. Good luck with everything. She's heading to Harvard. Just an amazing, amazing story. We're talking of perseverance. And think about your own life and your own dreams. You know, the old song, "Nobody Promised You a Rose Garden," that is absolutely true. Just because you are committed and you feel very strong about your passion and your purpose, it doesn't mean that things are not going to show up and set you back or even knock you down. Can you imagine being a young girl and your parents in your senior year? It's enough they've been bouncing you around, but now they don't come back, or they're not there, or they move to Tennessee when she comes back from a program. Amazing. But she stayed focused. She really stayed focused. So we're talking about perseverance and what that means for us and our dreams. as it relates to manifesting our dreams and our heart's desire. And maybe you are familiar with this quote. It's a very famous quote. And I have a dear friend who's always talking about this one. It says, "Nothing in the world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful men with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb." Then President Calvin Coolidge goes on to say, "Education will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent. The slogan 'Press On' has been solved and always will solve the problems of the human race." Persistence. Absolutely, absolutely important and critical, especially now if you're looking around and you're thinking that this is just getting a little too hard. This is getting unfair. This is just too much for all I want to do is live my dreams. Why is this all happening here? What also struck me about Lolo Jones and Dawn Loggins stories is that they could look beyond their realities and see something else and something better and something different. I also want to remind you what Ecclesiastes says about perseverance. "The race is not given to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, but to the one who endureth until the end." Until the end, we have to keep going. And Dawn said, the senior who just graduated from high school, in a CNN interview, that as she began her journey in the senior year, she turned her laser beam focus to her future. And her future was college. And it's just amazing that she could even think that big. One of the parts of the story was that because of all the uncertainty of her family, her mom and dad, and living in squalor, and she said she wouldn't even take a bath for months. 2 and 3 months would go on. She didn't know that she should be taking a bath every day or being clean every day. So she had to really look beyond what she saw, because what she saw was beyond limitless. There was really nothing going on. But she wanted a different path than her parents. She said, "When I was younger, I was able to look at all the bad choices, at the neglect and the drug abuse and everything that was happening, and make a decision for myself that I was not going to end up like my parents, living from paycheck to paycheck." So you have to make a decision when you are pressing toward the mark. Number one, that you're not going to stop because it gets hard and people disappoint you, and that it just seems like no one is there to help you. You continue on. You go to the Olympics in 2004. You try to. You don't qualify. You don't make it. 2008, oh my goodness, everything is just clicking along, and then you hit that hurdle and it's over. And you have another shot. So you keep going. I love to tell the story about, if I can find it for you here just really quickly, about, here we go. When I was in school, she always said this, Sister Ursula, keep your eyes on your own paper. And basically, it was during test time. And Sister Ursula, who was very strict when I was in grade school, to all of us, she wanted us to be focused. Don't look around trying to copy other people's answers. Don't look around being unsure. Keep your eyes on your own paper. As you persist with your dream, keep your eye on your own paper. Keep going. Keep going. Very, very important. We're talking about persistence. And here's another thing that you must keep in mind. You cannot listen to all of the opinions out there, especially when things are starting to look rough. I can imagine what the opinions were of a lot of people for Lolo. Maybe they were telling her, well, you know what, girl, you tried. You tried. I would just give it up, Go ahead and maybe become a coach somewhere. And I'm sure for that young girl who had gone through so much and was homeless and living in the school and being a janitor, and there were probably some folks who wanted to tell her, if I were you, I would just forget about it, Nobody in your family has gone this far. Yeah, you're pretty smart and everything, but your mama left you, your daddy left you. Maybe you should just go where they are and try not to worry about finishing at this high school. You can't always be open to the opinions of others because they will always have something to say about what you should be doing, how long you should be hanging in there when it comes to your dreams and goals. You may have heard about the story. It's a classic and I love it. The story of a grandfather and a grandson and a donkey. A little donkey, very cute little donkey. And the grandfather and the son, they were on their way to town, to this area, and they were going by donkey, and the grandfather thought that he would just put his grandson on the donkey and they would proceed to continue down to their destination. Well, along the way, someone started saying, "Oh, look at that little boy. How selfish of him to let his grandfather, that older man, walk while this child rides." Well, the grandfather heard this and said, "Well, maybe I'm older, maybe I should be riding." So he takes the little boy down and he gets on the donkey. And he's traveling. The little boy is on the ground walking alongside the donkey, and the older man, the grandfather, is on the donkey. They get down the road and somebody else, wouldn't you know it, has something to say and say, "Well, you look at that. Look at that old man letting that little boy walk. Oh, he should be off the donkey and put the boy on the donkey." So the grandfather said, "Well, I don't know what to think now. Everybody has an opinion about this." So the grandfather thought, well, maybe here's the solution. I'll stay on the donkey. I'll grab my grandson, put the grandson on the donkey as well, and we'll both ride and get to our destination. Terrific idea, right? No. Before long, people were pointing and saying, "Oh my goodness, look how cruel. Oh, we have an old man and a young boy, and they're both on that poor little donkey, burdening that poor beast. How awful." Now, really, the grandfather at this point doesn't even know what to do because everybody had an opinion about what he should be doing. By this time, he was so turned around and so crazy, he decided that he and the boy would put the donkey on their back. So you have to be very, very careful not to listen, especially when you're trying to persevere and continue on with your goals and your dreams. Because again, if we try to listen and please and get turned around by everyone with an opinion, especially when things are getting tough, especially when we get knocked down, especially when we hit the hurdle and we knock that down and we get down, if we start listening to the opinions of others, we're not going to make it. We're going to change. We're going to give up on our dreams. We're going to become resentful. We're going to become angry. We're going to think that life has abandoned us and our dream is not worth living. Here are some other keys that you may want to keep in mind as you persist with your dream. I'm a big believer that we have to keep going. We have to make this happen. It's not always easy, but we must continue. Have a clear and a specific goal in mind that's going to lead you. For the young high school student, it was to go on to college. For Lolo, it's to get back up there, keep running, keep hurdling, and go up to the Olympics. She wants that gold medal. That is her goal. So know where you're headed. What is your destination? Otherwise, every setback will get you off course. Every negative thought, every negative comment, other people's opinions, all of that will happen. Also, have a strong desire. It has to be in your heart. It has to be something that you are clear about. You cannot be wishy-washy when it comes to this desire, this goal. Because again, you may end up homeless. You may end up with a setback. You may end up being faced with an ill parent, or you may have to deal with some financial situations, or you may have to go through a waiting period. If you are not clear about it, if you don't have that strong desire, that passion is what's going to keep you connected. Otherwise, when it gets rough, you're going to give up. Having that strong desire will keep you and help you through those rough times, those tough times, when you lack motivation, when you don't read the book or hear the DVD or watch the DVD or tune in to the webcast like this, or get prayerful or get quiet. It's going to take you off course. Another tip, be self-confident. Oh, I know some of us just suffer from a lack of self-confidence. It is so important, as you are persisting, to believe in yourself and believe that you can get it done. Sometimes you will have help. A lot of times you will not have help. So you must continue to have that self-confidence that this is critical to you. Believe that it's achievable and doable, and act and persist from that level of belief. It's also important to have a plan, a clear and a specific plan. Oftentimes we kind of flounder around. We just think that, just having the desire is enough. It'll get you through. It'll help you, but you have to know what you're doing. You have to have a plan. And sometimes we hear that and our eyes want to roll over, but it's very important. If you don't know where you're going and how to get there, you're just wasting valuable time oftentimes. So your plan is your road map. Continue to have that life plan, that destination plan. And of course, as they say, you plan that work and work your plan. You assess it. You make some rational decisions based upon that plan. Plans also help you to move out of the emotion of this. Oftentimes we're so emotionally connected that we're making emotionally charged decisions as opposed to saying, okay, let me look at this. Okay, what's the information? To make sure that I have my plan together. Also, be on the lookout for those who are there to help you. The coach that Lolo has, you can apparently believes a lot in her. Absolutely. There were people along Dawn's path, Loggins, and I suggest that you also maybe read about her and go on the internet and do a Google search. But there were people in her life that believed in her, didn't laugh at her, didn't just say, oh, you stink, get away from us. And they helped her along the way. So there will be people who will be there to help you. And if not, that doesn't mean you sit down. It doesn't mean that at all. Sometimes you might have to go it alone for a moment, but that's why books and tapes and seminars and quiet time and believing and reflecting, very key to moving forward. So hopefully you have heard some things that will help you with perseverance. Don't give up. Don't stop believing in what you're doing. Speaking of someone who did not stop and does not stop in believing in what he's doing, I want to tell you, if you're in the New Orleans area this coming week, my friend Harold Ellis Clark Jr. has written a fabulous stage play called Fishers of Men, and it's going to take place at Dillard University's Cook Theater on Gentilly Boulevard here in New Orleans, June 14th through the 17th. So I just think that you're going to thoroughly enjoy it if you can make it. In fact, it stars a former New Orleans City Councilman, Oliver Thomas. He's starring as the lead in this particular play. He plays Bishop James Piralou, a pastor of a New Orleans megachurch who sends men from his congregation into the city streets late at night to rescue lost souls. Very, very interesting. And we'd like to end today with information about Your Way. If you're in New Orleans, I think you'll be in for a treat. Your Way and Yogurt Coffee Bar, 3001 Tulane Avenue. Our good friends Cleveland Spears and Kalisha Garrett. They are the proprietors, the owners. They had a vision. They persisted. And they opened up this fantastic place that you will love. They even serve sandwiches. And just recently, congratulations to Kalisha Garrett, because she just completed a leadership training institute. So I don't know how she managed everything, but she did persist. And so she completed that as well. That's our show for today. We thank you so much for joining us. We hope that you've heard something that is going to encourage you and help you to persist as you continue with this dream and this joy. So don't give up. Don't surrender. Make it happen. There are ways. Have a great week. Until next time, you keep that cup filled with motivation. Bye-bye now.